Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman. I hope you like the ensemble today. I am going to be doing a reading that you probably, a lot of you know that I've said before in my channel that I'm not going to do a lot of like dark entities or dark readings on dark people. Well, today I have prayed, I have fasted, I meditated, and so I am good. I'm going to be doing a reading on Aleister Crowley. I hope I said his name right. He was known, this is him if you haven't seen him. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. That was Aleister. Okay. And he was known as a magician, occultist. He was a British, of course, and he was born October 12th, 1875, and he died on December 1st, 1947. Now, supposedly he founded the religion of Thelema, identifying himself as a prophet entrusted in guiding humanity into the Eye of Horus into the early 20th century. So I'm just going to click back on his face, because what I do is I channel. So I want to talk about, I have some cards spread as well. I'm using my gift, my mediumship, my psychic abilities, and I'm using tools as the tarot cards. So I have a lot of, I did a spread on what Spirit wanted to show me. Now I want to be very clear, when I am doing this reading, I'm not channeling him. I'm using my spirit guides to communicate and give me that information. I did not want to connect with his energy, but I'm already seeing visions when I use my psychic abilities. What I do is I center myself. I picture a white light going in from the top of my head all the way down through my body, and the feet turning into like roots, and they're going into the ground. And immediately the first thing, because I'm going to leave my eyes closed while I'm looking in and seeing visions of things. The first thing that he kept showing me, or that Spirit kept showing me rather, about him was a favorite, vague memories of him. These are old rundown buildings that I feel on some level that he has actually, his soul has traveled to, even as he has crossed over, and he has been in spirit for a long time. He is still stuck here on Earth. I don't feel like he has transitioned over, and I see him going to different places. These buildings are very run down. They're like a gray kind of like stone, and I saw a lot of sacrifices and things of that nature that he is doing, that he did back then. So viewer discretion is advised before I get into all of this, but I kept seeing that. I kept seeing a connection. I'm not familiar with the religion of Thelema or the beliefs behind it. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I kept seeing an association with the sun. So I don't know where Freemasonry kind of ties into this, or if there is a connection to Freemasonry, but I kept seeing the sun, and I kept seeing the colors red and orange when I tried to, when I'm connecting to my spirit guides, and actually they're showing me what, because I don't know, my spirit guides, they can communicate with them and their spirit guides, and I feel like my spirit guides are communicating with his energy and just giving me that to protect me. It's almost like a buffer in between both worlds. It's the best way I can explain it. So I'm pulling a lot of psychic information, and I'm seeing a lot of mediumship things as well. I kept feeling a lot of pain when I connected to his energy on my upper back and the center of my back. So breathing, apparently his cause of death was upper respiratory. It was bronchitis or something of that nature. It was respiratory related, but I also feel like there would have been like cardiopulmonary or cardio, I don't know, like when you have a heart attack from all of this, you know, your heart gives out, beating really fast. But a lot of pain, a lot of an agonizing death trying to breathe. I feel like you cannot breathe. That's kind of like how I feel his death was when I am going into my mediumship ability and channeling. But I'm not channeling his energy. I'm trying to let my spirit guides give me that information. So I'm really going through them. They're allowing me to feel some of his death and how he actually passed. This man was very, very manipulative. he had a lot of control over people. So I don't know if he had followers. Like I said, I've never really studied him or know anything about him other than he was known as, I don't know, like some people considered him in religion, I guess, as a Satanist, etc. But however, I do feel like this man had a lot of low-level entities following him from a very young child. There would have been gateways and things that he would have been exposed to and opened himself up. And I feel like it was in the house where he grew up with his mother or whoever he was around. There was something in that room where he stayed that followed him and opened the doors at a very, very young age in order for him to be involved in this occult and to getting drawn and pulled into that. And I feel like he didn't even realize he was like being controlled by spirits, dark spirits, to do things that were very sexual, and then fall into vices, if you follow me. So it was a very dark childhood and adult, young adolescent, teenage years. Very, very dark, very depressive. I also feel he loathed religion completely, like no loyalty towards Christ or Jesus or God. Very, very dark as well. I get chills just talking about it because that's the energy that is coming through from spirit, from my spirit guides. He had a lot of anger towards women, even though he was bisexual, and he did experiment with men and had relationships, etc. He was someone that was very, very, his thinking was very different. And this is I don't even want to say some of these things, but I have to say it. So like when he would have intimacy with certain partners, it wasn't him that was having intimacy, but rather spirits that jumped in his body and taking over, and they were getting off. Yes, spirits can have intercourse, they can have sex, even if they are spirit. I know that that's like, how is that possible? You have to understand that we are a spiritual and soul energy, and that even on the astral side, you can have sex with a twin flame or a soulmate. It does not just, sex is not just physical, with a physical body. It can also be energetically done on the other side. Don't ask me, I can't really explain it. I know what it is, because I've seen it before it come up in readings. But this man was a very controlled, very controlled. He had a lot of entities that followed him and would enter him, and a lot of his information that came was not coming from a higher power. It was coming from darker sources, okay, lower entities that were giving him this information and insight into the world of the occult. They wanted to draw a circle of people to follow. That's what I keep hearing spirits say. Draw a circle of people to follow, because what was happening was that he became like an energetic vampire and feeding and drawing off of people that participated in these rituals. And he had a way of convincing people, you know, that he was like the father of this movement, etc. He was very convincing, but he also, like I said, was at a very low vibration. So a lot of the stuff that he was doing, it wasn't really Aleister doing it. It was darker entities that had taken over his body and causing him to do these sacrifices and things like that. It was like total possession at some point. And I don't feel like he was ever rid of these things. I actually feel like there was a lot of demonic beings that were summoned and that would have followed him. And he thought that maybe they were confined to a certain place and that he had power. This is the thing with the ego trap. When I tune into him, I feel like he had this ego that was very unhealthy, and because he manifested certain things with the assistance of demons doing his bidding and getting things carried out and granting him some kind of what's the word I'm looking for, power or like acclamation or like adoration from people. It was almost like he had sold his soul to the devil, okay? And I don't feel like he even realized that was going on, and my camera's about to cut off, so let me go figure. I do this reading and my battery's drained, so I'm going to use my other battery, and I'm going to put it back in and sage myself, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. My camera got drained. I saged. But like I was saying, this gentleman, this Aleister Crowley, was so dark that people have, up to now, they have done spirit boxes. They've called upon him. His soul's not at rest, and it has never been at rest. A lot of issues that he would... A lot of unfinished business is what my spirit guides are saying, that he says that he had a lot of unfinished business to attend to, and that he wanted certain people dead. And so I would not be surprised if he had a hand from the other side on carrying out some kind of revenge. And as I'm doing this, my blind in this room, one blind, I kid you not, is actually moving. The little handle that you twirl to open the blind is moving. So yeah, there's a lot of energy that's coming through this reading. Not to scare anyone, but it is what it is. So I banish all negativity that is trying to come through and interfere with this reading. In God's name, I banish you. And as soon as I say that, it actually stopped moving. So like, I cannot kid you, I'm going to take a video of this so that you can see it. And I'll insert this into the video probably at the end. You can see it swaying in the background. I took a video of it, but anyways, I can't make this stuff up. I always have experiences when I do that, so I'm going to be saging this room after this as well. So as I was saying, I have my protective amulet. I have an amber stone with citrine. Citrine is like very powerful, so I have that here. Okay, going back to the reading, this gentleman had it out from the spirit side when he crossed over to carry out a lot of damage to people that were still living, haunting them. A promise, he says it was a promise to haunt and hurt certain people and hurt them, and I don't like to use the K word, but you know what that means. He was out to do that, and I have chills on the back of my head as I'm doing this, so I'm getting a lot of chills, which means to me that he would play with people's minds from the other side. And there was this almost, he's like, the way that Spirit is showing me visions of how he is in the afterlife right now is just like a head up, and he's like grinning, like it's so sinister. I can't make this stuff up. I can't even describe, like, that's how his energy is. He hasn't changed one bit. He was evil in life, and he is evil in death. And I know that a lot of people that maybe are still followers or fans of his work, you know, they may not like this video at all because I'm giving exactly what I see, and they may not have that same visions or be able to see that, but he was not a nice person, and I feel like he didn't like humanity at all, and half of his life was like a blur. Like, I feel like there was a lot of times where his vision would just like go blurry, and it would be blurred, and it would be this demons kind of taking over him. He had a lot of things, and I feel like there was his wives and friends and partners that sexual partners that he would have noticed that things in their life would have gone like really, really bad. They would have gotten illnesses and things of that nature because of the actual energy that he had. Because again, when people have relationships, you know, and they have, you know, intercourse or sex, basically it's two energies coming together and meshing as a synergy, and whatever he had attached to him kind of rippled off and went into those people. And he's like making his eyes really big now because I can see. He's like, and you know, like kind of like his tongue sticking out. I'm not going to even describe it, but it's gross. Again, very perverted. Even in adulthood, I want to say that he had desires that are very twisted. I don't know if there was something with animals as well. I don't want to get into it, but it was very sickening, the energy. What I do get from him is that he's not at rest, and he won't be. There's a lot of lessons that he is never going to learn, and he will be trapped in this kind of hell that has been created for himself. He feels like he is owed justice, and he wishes that his followers of Thelema or followers of Aleister, because there is still in very modern day 2020, there are people that follow him, that they would follow out his teachings, and he wants them to honor him, like people to practice and kind of like there's people that have altars of him with this photograph on it, okay? They're worshiping him like if he was a god, and he's like laughing and just like loves the fact that he is worshipped. He is like, he thinks he's a god. That's how it's coming through. A lot of death surrounds him, just like a lot of darker entities, and when he was alive he had a lot of that following him as well. There would have been a lot of death. He also had a stench. Okay, I can't describe this, but it's a very musky stench that would have followed him as well, and that people would have maybe known and smelled. He didn't expect to die the way that he was going to, but when it was, he had something very dark appear at the foot of where he was at, the foot of the bed or wherever. There was, in the room, there was a dark shadow that was there, and it was from the other side. It is a dark entity. Some would call it a demon, the devil. He had a lot of dark energy, and he could see things. He had the gift to see, but he used it for bad purposes, again, for control. And even though he has garnered some kind of fame, he was not wealthy by any means. Like, money was, this wasn't about money for him. This was about him developing power to do things even after he would die, and that's what's coming through from spirit as well. So his teachings for him, every time someone every time someone practices his followings, his followings and his teachings, and they pray to him or have his photograph, etc. Basically, they're calling upon something that would be demonic. And I hate to say that, but now in death, that's like how his soul is, and why my spirit guides are only allowing me to see so much, and channeling all of this. I also am getting that there was witches that he worked with. I don't know if these were, part of the Thelema religion or satanic, but they were dark witches, and they did work together. There was at least 2 women, and they dealt with a lot with the white and dark magic, but mainly dark, is what I'm getting. And just a lot of loss. He was not happy. His life didn't turn out the way that he wanted it to be. In some point of him, when he was himself and not taken over by spirits, he wanted to have money, even though a part of it, like I said, didn't care about that. A part of him, what really didn't care about it were the demons or entities that were taking over him. But when he was Aleister himself for those split few seconds, there was a lot of memory gaps and things that he could not remember, but he did have aspirations to have money, to travel the world, and to have a loving relationship. but I feel like there was a lot of darkness in the relationships, a lot of manipulation, a lot of entrapment that he was in. I believe he was married twice, but regardless of his circumstances, things just didn't come out the way that he wanted. But he is happy in death that people are still worshiping him, or look up to him as a leader, because that's what he wants. And then he keeps showing me a picture. Well, Spirit is showing me what he's showing them, a picture of Adolf Hitler. So, like, he is comparing himself to a Hitler in some ways. It's crazy. I don't know what the connection is at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were buddies in the afterlife. They're both low-level entities. But that is what I see. This is my reading. I hope that you are not as uncomfortable as I am right now doing this, and my blind just stopped moving. But this was a crazy reading. I may do some other readings, but it probably spaces in between. I'm going to get back into doing celebrity readings on my channel, and I want to wish you all the best. Remember, sage yourself if you look at this video afterwards, and say a prayer to Archangel Michael. I will be too. Blessings and love and light. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye.